Good day, mate.
Good day, Wally.
It's time to talk about Australia. So, the Wallabies, they have played Japan now, and boy, what a game that was that we watched.
Wow, what a fantastic
What an excellent game.
win.
What was
for the
your
Wallabies.
favourite bit of that game
Mine
that has taken place?
was the bit where Len Ikitau did the no-look pass.
Oh, Len Ikitau, who's playing for Exeter this weekend.
Yes. I've had a mate there, fair play. What about the great line that Joseph Akuso Suaalii ran?
Oh, mate, his little flick.
Yeah.
How did you think Michael Leach played?
I thought he played very well.
Excellent. Good small talk. That game has not taken place as we record this, if you hadn't worked that out. Australia now head on to Twickenham, where they will play England. They then have Scotland, and they also have Ireland. Now, these have all been games that have been pretty tight over the last few years, that they've put up fights against. It's almost like they're doing a revenge tour for the Lions. It's a weird one, because Joe Schmidt is leaving after this tour. So, the question mark is, how do they approach it?
That is such a weird question because they beat the Lions in the third test.
Yeah.
And but also, it doesn't quite work like that. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't quite work the same as... Lions tours just don't work the same as like, oh yeah, X team from them beat the Lions. Like Scotland beat Australia last year, so therefore the Lions should win 3-0. Like it just... I can't explain, but it just doesn't work the same way as that. So, but it is a weird one because there will be players who have gone, well, I've beaten Australia twice this year, and that was all we were talking about as the biggest test of my life.
Yeah.
And so, as you say, the revenge tour narrative is a thing. But since then, Australia have had a couple of scalps in the Rugby Championship, beating South Africa away from home, an historic victory at Ellis Park. They've had 2 wins over the Pumas, which were like statement wins for the Wallabies. Like they are one of the hardest teams to like back yourself up against and win against twice. You know, I guess the angle is that Australia will have grown from when they played the Lions because they had so many young players and they weren't entirely sure what their strongest team was with that first test. And players who've come through, like the likes of Max Jorgensen, who has been like utterly world class, frankly, in the last 3 to 4 months in international rugby. So I know it's quite an exciting place for Australia that they can back that up and try and get a few statement wins.
It's a really weird one for Joe Schmidt because he is leaving after this. And he's done a brilliant job for Australia. Yeah. And you wish he was staying on, but obviously personal reasons, family reasons mean that isn't possible. And good on him for making that decision.
Absolutely.
You know, putting his family first. However, it leaves them with then 3 remaining games where all they can do really is look to put this team, or Schmidt can look to do, is put this team in a better place than they were in before. There is no real building towards the World Cup because Les Kiss will come in and he'll probably want to do his own thing with the team. Yeah. But what we have seen is a team who's worked out the style of play that suits them, and I imagine Les Kiss will carry a lot of that over and a lot of the same DNA. And he'll tweak it and he'll change it, obviously. But that very expansive, very open, getting it to players, you know, creating one-on-one situations rather than necessarily looking to like break things down hugely. Just being like, no, we'll give Jorgensen like a chance to take someone on one-on-one. We'll give Tom Wright a chance to take someone on one-on-one. Tom Wright's done his ACL, unfortunately, so he's out of this tour. But you've still got a huge amount of talent across that back line. Yeah,
Corey Toole, who's come in second half of the Rugby Championship, has been so good, such good fun.
And I think all he can really do is look to get Australia the strongest seeding for the World Cup he can. That is the campaign now, is to keep building that. It's not impossible that Australia climb into the top bracket. Yeah. And that would give them a really good chance. They would need to win all their games. They would probably need England to drop off enormously as well. That game against England is the critical one for them climbing, right?
I agree.
They're currently sitting in 7th in the world rankings. I think they're 4 ranking points behind England. So they will realistically need to beat England by more than 7 points and then win their other games. Yeah. Right, beat Scotland and Ireland to hold on.
England feels like the big rivalry in there, doesn't it? Yeah. That is their chance to punch up. And when we discussed what a good autumn looks like for England, again, that was one of the things we talked about, was not letting Australia do that from just beneath them. And the Ireland game's a little bit different because you look at the Ireland game last autumn where it was incredibly tight. Australia, who were perceived as nowhere near as good as Ireland at the time, were giving them a real battle. And then it was sort of Jack Crowley came on the last 10 minutes and just played them in the corners and just like said, no, you're sitting back here in your own 22, and didn't give them the chance to win the game from there, which could well be the way that we see Ireland do it again. Obviously, Andy Farrell would be approaching that and going like, we want to blow them away in the same way that he did with the Lions, you know. But yeah, I'm really excited for that game, the Ireland one, but I think the England one is the particular
That's the exciting one, isn't it?
Yeah, especially because of, England will be really pissed off about how the last one finished. And in a way, that one England game at Twickenham last year, at Allianz rather, that was the momentum builder for the year that Australia have started to build off the back of that. And I know that they're not a world-class team yet, but again, I don't think that they'd have won at Ellis Park if they didn't win at Twickenham first.
They didn't go on and do the Grand Slam. They lost to Scotland. They lost narrowly to Ireland at the end. But beating England and Wales was, in many ways, the equivalent of the '84 Grand Slam tour, right? Like, where that tour saved and revived Australian rugby.
Yeah.
And it really dipped off to rugby league, and then it just, like, brought public interest into the Wallabies back for a way that lasted for, like, 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
And that team became, like, one of the most beloved teams in Australian sport, even when rugby union wasn't doing so well. Like, the Wallabies remained a big brand. And it felt little bit like that was a chance for them to do the same. Like, it felt like that was growing. And it didn't come to the same extent, right? And obviously that Wallaby team that it inspired went on to win 2 World Cups. I'm not saying necessarily that'll happen here, but certainly a more competitive, new-feeling Wallaby team. This Wallaby team feels so different to how it did in the Rugby Championship last year, right?
Yeah.
And that began with that game in Twickenham. And they now go into it in Twickenham, and I am calling it Twickenham, not the Allianz, because as someone from a Premiership club said to me once, they're not paying us, so we'll call it Twickenham. That all those players now go in thinking, well, I've beaten this lot before.
Yeah.
I've won here before. And then you take, and this is the thing I keep coming back to, right? Max Jorgensen comes off the bench as a youngster, completely unproven, had a few great games in Super Rugby. He then scores that try, builds in confidence over the next few weeks, comes into that Lions series, and is brilliant. Again, gets in the team for the Lions because there were a couple of injuries.
Yeah.
Gets in, is one of their best players, is a revelation. Rugby Championship, he goes up and is now not just like the starting wing of the Wallabies nailed in. He's one of the best wingers in the world.
Yeah. He's one of my favourite players in the men's game at the moment.
Yeah.
I absolutely love watching him play because defensively he doesn't miss and his positioning is brilliant. There was a part of me that was a little bit sceptical about when Joe Schmidt moved into fullback at the end because it was kind of like...
Well, he came through as a fullback.
But that's it. And it's ironic because I remember that was what I praised him originally, was for the fact that he works really well as a fullback at the same time as a winger. At the same time, like, there's always a part of me that goes... hates that thing where a player starts playing really well and you go, I'd like to see him play X position instead. Just like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But also, the thing about Jorgensen is his maturity is so far beyond his years.
Yes.
That backfield management and defensive decision-making are the 2 best areas of his game. And usually, a 22-year-old winger, I think he is now, maybe only 21.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a young winger, usually those are the areas that they're last to develop. A lot of international wingers don't get there until they're 27, 28. And the fact that we've also seen the glimpses of like the try at Ellis Park where he went all the way. The try that he scored at Twickenham last year, the try in the Lions test as well, or the 2 tries in the Lions tests, you know, that we're seeing that and going, oh, there's a lot more of this still to come, isn't there? That's the area that's going to creep up on us.
So he is ludicrously quick.
He is.
He can step someone... not in a phone box, that's a very small area of space, because he likes to do like one of those long rangy steps where he like somehow in one step goes from like the 15-metre line to the middle of the pitch.
You can step someone on a rugby pitch. How about that? That's an analogy.
I like
That'll
that.
Catch on.
Yeah. But he can step anyone.
Yeah.
Incredibly quick. And yet he's one of those players, and sometimes you see a player come along like that and you're like, I wouldn't be that surprised if they're a Stockdale.
Yeah.
If they're a player who has 1 or 2 brilliant years and then burns out a little bit and is found out a little bit and can't adapt really. Max Jorgensen, I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah.
I think this guy will be playing for the Wallabies well into his 30s.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be, and it's only like a move to France, Japan or Rugby League is like getting in the way of that. I think he is like a serious talent, but on top of that, he's a serious Rugby Brian.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at him and I'm like, I don't think there's a more exciting talent to come through in the men's game this year.
Yeah.
Or at least, obviously, he came through last year when his first cap last year. But
Yeah.
in terms of the way
This was his
grown,
breakthrough.
This is it.
This is the
been
biggest
phenomenal.
gap between start of year and end of year, his
And
performance.
when I think about the Wallabies this autumn, the thing I'm most excited about is watching Max Jorgensen.
Yeah.
Which means he's going to get injured at Twickenham. Or just got injured at Japan
It's
game that
so
happened the other
funny.
day.
I think about the Wallabies and I think about Jorgensen.
Yeah.
Like, he's the Wallabies to me at the moment. He's the identity of like Schmidt era Wallabies to me.
Yeah.
And yet, let's think, half-time as Lions fans, half-time of the second test, we were thinking, shit the bed. The longer Rob
Schmidt the bed.
Valentini stays on,
Yes. Yeah.
that we will lose this game.
Yeah.
Rob Valentini is fit again now, and again, brilliant whenever he's played for the Wallabies this year. Shock, or just ever,
Yeah.
really. He's back. He's world class. He is somebody who, again, coming up against these components of Lions, he's who they're going to fear.
Yeah. So the international window kicks in a few days, right?
Yeah.
Which means that suddenly the players that haven't been available so far, which have been the European-based players, will become available. So Will Skelton, Tom Hooper, and Lenny Katau will come out. Whether they'll play against England remains to be seen. We may see them in for the Italy game, and then they'll almost definitely play against Ireland. So that's the intriguing one, is where they fit in, right? But Skelton and Valentini almost single-handedly turned the Lions store.
Yeah.
Those two coming in together, the massive lumps of human that they were so smartly used by Schmidt. And you've then got, right, the form Harry Wilson is on at the minute.
Oh, mate, I love watching this guy
And
play.
he is back from his injury. Whether he makes the Twickenham game remains to be seen. He probably played against Japan, didn't he, a few days ago?
Probably did.
But yeah, he's back from his injury. I'm really excited to see him back. He has been one of the most fun players to watch this year. He plays like a proper Wallabies superfan who's been given a chance to play for the team.
Yeah.
You can tell he loves this team. Like, he has the same energy captaining the Wallabies as Sean Maloney has commentating on them.
Yes.
Of like, I love this team. I love this badge. Like, Wally looks at him with like joy at how much he like he feels like the biggest Wallaby fan in the world who is now captaining that side.
He is simultaneously like a little kid
Yeah.
who is buzzing to be there.
Yeah.
Who's like on sweets constantly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
at the same time, he's like your Brexit Sunday League left back.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't he? Because that's how he plays rugby.
It feels like someone that... This is the vibe of Harry Wilson, right? He was someone who was playing, like, Saturday afternoon, like, average club rugby somewhere in Sydney and was, like, trucking along. And then, like, a fairy came and granted him a wish. And he was like, I want to be Wallabies captain.
Yeah.
And now, here he is trucking up as Wallabies captain. He's like,
He's
I
class.
want to be, like, the Wallabies star player and captain and everything. I want to be good enough to play for the Wallabies. And the fairy's like, okay, fine. Fine. You could play rugby league instead. And he's like, no, Wallabies. And now he is like that player, but playing with the joy of someone who grew up dreaming of playing the Wallabies. And maybe it's helped by the fact that Eddie Jones hated him and dropped him, because he plays like someone who never thought it would happen for him, despite the fact he came through quite young, was playing for the Wallabies at 20.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching him play for the under-20s in that year that Australia made the final, had the likes of him and Lolaseo and so on, and like such a good team there. And looking at them and going like, he's brilliant. I remember saying on the channel, like, when he won his first cap, like, I have never been more confident a guy's going to win 50 caps than this guy.
Yeah.
Like, watching him in Super Rugby that season, then watching him play on his debut against New Zealand in 2020. And 5 years on, I think he must be coming up on that. Again, just Australia's full of individual players I want to watch. Joseph Akusa-Suaalii, like, what a talent.
Angus Bell.
Angus Bell.
He's world class.
Angus Bell also will probably join up, down the line.
With Angus Bell as well, need to point out as well, he will be taking that number 1 jersey most likely because of the retirement of an absolute legend in James Slipper.
Yes.
This is the one place on the channel where we're going to really get a chance to talk about James Slipper, other than maybe like moments of the year or something like that. But just want to quickly just give a moment to James Slipper, because I don't think there's been a better servant to the country than he is. And I remember seeing somebody quite snarkily say on Twitter, like, I can't believe we're calling him a legend because, it's just so happened there's not been a better loose head come along than him. And it's like, well, no, there's no need to be snarky about him, because prop is the hardest position on the pitch to remain good for 10 plus years. There's so many props who've like come and gone inside sort of 20 odd caps, and that's what happens to most players. He's done it as well in multiple like scrum laws. And that was the thing that made Dan Cole so impressive and so many players before him. And like, I remember people making the same point about John Hayes when he won like 120 odd caps for Ireland. And it's like, well, no, in order to sustain that level of consistency and also be a captain for the Wallabies, you have to be a really special character and a really special, resilient player.
This is it, right? That there was never a moment in which, if you pulled someone aside and went, who were the Wallabies' 5 best players? And no point in his career with people listing James Slipper, really.
They weren't.
And yet, there was never a moment in his career where someone went, what's James Slipper doing in the team?
Yeah.
You know, that was
He's
it.
not one
It was
of our 2 best
consistency.
props.
Yeah. It was consistency the entire time. Like, he hit a level which was good enough for international standard, good enough for a team that made a World Cup final, and he sustained it the entire way. And that is unbelievably hard to do. And in some ways, right, that is more impressive than having, you mentioned like the Stockdale effect, like players that are incredible for a year or two and are your best player for a little bit, then burn out.
Yeah.
Like, no, he kept it going for a very long time. He was going to play this autumn, but he was like, Joe, I'm knackered. Do you really need me? And he was like, go and have a lie down slip. Put on your slippers, which he hasn't even put on his cleats for years. But yeah, like a legend of the game.
Yeah.
An accidental legend a little bit, but like a legend.
Yeah. I've loved watching him for this whole time. And yeah, fair play to him. There's one more really important point that we've not brought up, and we have to talk about it. Okay? And that is one player who's returned to the squad, kind of out of nowhere. You say out of nowhere, you've mentioned Rugby League a lot on this. Carter Gordon, straight back into the Wallabies fold after having played Rugby League for the last 18 months or so. And he's decided he wants to come back, and Joe Schmidt has gone, I like what I see of you.
Yes. So, Carter Gordon brought back for an amount of money that is more than they cut from the Wallaroos budget.
Yeah, which is fucking disgraceful.
They could have not brought back Carter Gordon and increased the Wallaroos spending.
Yeah. Give it all to Caitlin Hulse. Anyway, carry on.
So, just a side note.
Yep.
And those two stories coming out so close to each other, I find it impossible to separate Carter Gordon versus the Wallaroos.
Utterly disgraceful.
I know that's not the case, but he is a really interesting option. Fly half was a bit of a problem for the Wallabies early this year, and Tom Liner came through, passed the test, not quite flying colours, but with there were a couple of colours that were off the ground. You know? Like,
but at least he'll be good.
Yeah, proved himself as an international player. Proved himself as someone worth persevering with.
Yep.
Noel Olseo's injury really screwed them over because he came really good on last year's autumn tour and then pulled up injured and that became an issue. They need some depth in that fly-half position.
Yeah.
If you're going to take on and challenge for a World Cup seriously, you probably need 3 fly-halves.
Yeah.
You can't be that reliant on one just in case they get injured.
James O'Connor's not going to be around forever.
No, and he's unavailable for first game as well, being in Leicester, where he started really well.
Yeah.
And is he going to make... Carter Gordon obviously backed incredibly hard by Eddie Jones at the last World Cup in a way that maybe broke him.
Yeah.
He is a great fly half, not a great goal kicker at all, which becomes an issue with Nick White retiring as well as your goal kicker at 9 potentially.
Yeah.
And
we're not going to give him the same attention. We did that on the Lions tour.
Yes. Look, they need depth in that position.
Yeah.
And Joseph Akusa-Lui coming in last year and playing his first game of rugby union since he was 15 for the Wallabies against England at Twickenham and having an absolute stormer. Joe Schmidt's gone, well, I can just do that every year. I can just bring in a new rugby league player every year. He'll bring in Marky Mark for his debut in 3 weeks' time, probably. Even though Marky Mark's obviously played, but bring him back. He'll bring in bloody Reece Walsh in a few months' time.
I would quite like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk of him coming to Union. Anyway.
Is there?
Yeah.
Make it happen.
It's contention. Bring him over. Bring over Sam Burgess.
Sure.
Who he's lived in Australia. He can play for them.
Sure. Greg Inglis, make it happen.
Greg Inglis. Bring up Rangi Chase. Bring him over.
Sure. He goes missing in big games though, mate. I don't know. I don't watch rugby league. I have no idea how well Carter Gordon has been going in rugby league. I know about Marky Mark. I know how well he's been doing.
The reviews were as I recall, 2 or 3 weeks in, they're oh no, he had a good game, and then since then it's been they've let him go. They've not. Sure. No one feels that upset in rugby league that he's gone back.
Yeah. So again, he will be a good option for the Wallabies to have.
Yeah.
I hope that going to rugby league has improved his game somehow. Yeah. I hope that when they play at Twickenham, the Wallabies, if they're under 22 and they're going for a long sequence of pick and goes on the 6th one, he doesn't just boot it into the stands. I hope he remembers what sport he's playing. But no, I'm happy to see Carter Gordon back because in the 23 World Cup, I did feel for him a little bit because he obviously got dropped for Ben Donaldson by the Wales game. And I remember thinking damn, it's a shame because Carter Gordon looks like he is going to be a really good player. Yeah. He just doesn't quite have the temperament yet,
He
and the
was
goal
forcing
kicking
too
doesn't
fast,
help.
too hard, and then the goal kicking was a problem.
Yeah.
Because he's just not good at it.
Yeah.
And it does hurt your confidence if you're attending having a good game otherwise, but you're missing all your goals. It does start to affect you.
And at international level, like the margins are so small
Yeah.
that everybody expects the fly half to be able to kick the goals. You know, even if the fullback can't do it or the 9 can't do it, you expect that the fly half has to be at least the backup kicker.
Quick mention for Kalani Thomas, who's got
Yeah.
the squad. We talked about him a lot over the Lions tour. He was excellent for the Reds.
Yeah.
And in one of the 2 invitational games, which was mixed up in my head.
Yeah. AUNZ, I want to say.
Yeah,
played.
AUNZ or the First Nations. One or the other he played
Yeah.
in, and he was great. Really deserves a cap.
Yeah.
Like, has been obviously toiling away behind Tate McDermott at club level for a long time. But, like, every time I've seen him play at Super Rugby level, I've been like, this kid's good. And against the Lions, when he got more of a chance on the bigger stage, you're like, this kid, he can mix it with the best of them. I'm really glad he's getting an opportunity.
Yeah, I really like it because there's probably a bit of a toss-up between him and Teddy Wilson for that extra option in there. Like, I thought they would have gone Wilson because maybe his kicking game's marginally better. But in Kalani Thomas, they've gone somebody who's closer to that McDermott role.
Yeah.
Of like, who can come on and change a game? And that's probably not Wilson. Wilson's closer to a Jake Gordon who's already in the squad and going, you know. Whereas instead, you've got, it's funny because they both play for the same clubs as the ones that we're comparing them to. But Kalani Thomas, a really exciting player, has a good kicking game, a really strong pass on him, and again, he's just really quick and evasive around the park. I love watching him play.
Come back to Joe Schmidt looking to leave the squad in a better place. And he's nailed on a lot of players into being like your first choice, your first choice, your first choice, in a way that wasn't the case last year. And if he can now go, there you are, I've given you an extra scrum half.
Yeah.
Nick White's retired, here's an extra option, Les Kiss. Please enjoy it. We've blooded a young scrum half who can develop and kick on as a kind of alternative Tate McDermott figure. I think he's a really strong choice. I'm really glad he's getting an opportunity.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay,
Cool.
so Wallabies.
Wallabies.
One note on them, right? What is a good autumn for them?
I mean, it sounds really shallow to say it like this, considering the Japan game that was great that already happened.
Yeah, so good, wasn't
Such
it?
a good game.
That bit with Jorgensen
mate.
and the hat he put on.
Yeah.
No one saw that coming.
I kind of feel like what would make or break this being a great autumn is another win at Twickenham. I kind of think that's what it hinges on. Don't get me wrong. They obviously lost to Scotland and Ireland last year. So beating Ireland away and then obviously getting a win in Italy
Well,
as
they
well.
lost to Italy a few years ago, right?
So I guess not succumbing to that. But if they lose to Ireland, that can be their target next year, you know?
Yeah.
So honestly, I feel like a win in Italy should be expected, but a win at Twickenham would be like, that's the hinge of what's a good autumn for them. What do you think?
I think, a good autumn for them. Weirdly, it's not about consistency. You say that for most teams, and I don't think it's about performance even. I think it's about seeing how high the ceiling can be.
Yeah.
I think it is putting in one performance where you go, this team can make a World Cup semi-final if they play like that down the line.
Yeah.
So,
especially given Schmidt's leaving, so it doesn't have necessarily a bearing on the World Cup in terms of game plan.
I think if they lose to Italy and then lose one of Ireland or England but win the other and look incredibly impressive, I think that's fine. I think that's a good autumn for them.
Yeah.
I think it's about showing how high the ceiling is.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So, a win at Twickenham and Harry Wilson to not pull his hamstring when he scores a try. They're the two objectives.